debate, voters believe that Kamala Harris won the debate, the first debate between the two presidential candidates. CNN also said and termed Kamala Harris's performance as right up there and ranked it one of the best that they had seen as far as presidential debates go. In fact, on the other side, Donald Trump supporters are also reconsidering a vote after the debate, which saw the former president come out with a not so perfect response, and it was a sharp contrast to how he performed against President Joe Biden, who is now no more in the race. Well, it all lies now on some of the key factors of the debate, which was immigration and economy. And on that, let me tell our viewers that let's get that graphic point also on our screens. That on those specific points, whether it was immigration or the economy, on both of those factors, as per the polls, it indicated that Donald Trump had a bit of an edge, specifically as far as those two particular areas are concerned. This, of course, are graphics relating to the larger debate per se. But as I said, those two factors pertaining to immigration and economy is where Donald Trump seemed to have fared better. All right, let's get in Robert Shapiro, political analyst and scientist, joining us live on the broadcast. Professor Shapiro, thanks much for taking out the time and speaking to me on NDTV. My first question to you, sir. Well, the world has been able to digest the first presidential debate now. It's been almost 48 hours or so. I want to ask you that specifically as far as immigration and economy is concerned, despite not having a good performance or a good day, say whichever way you want to put it, Donald Trump seemed to have done better than Kamala Harris on those specific points.
Yeah, that's very striking. And Trump's final comment about, if Harris had good ideas to deal with these problems, why didn't she deal with them effectively with Biden in the past 4 years? I think that was a very effective statement. It goes to show you how important these issues are and how these issues work against Kamala Harris. This election should be, at least from the Republican standpoint, as a strategic matter, an election based on the performance of the Biden administration. And those are the two areas where they've been perceived to have done poorly. And even though Harris did very well in the debate, she wasn't able to shake public opinion on those issues.
And if we see some of those numbers as far as immigration and the economy is concerned, the distance between the two, or the gap between the two candidates, is quite significant. It is not a marginal edge that Donald Trump has over Kamala Harris on these two specific points. Is this pretty much the crux of the U.S. election then?
Yeah, I think that's the crux of the election, and the big question is that Kamala Harris did extremely well during the debate, but the big question is, will this have any effect on her support in the election? And we don't know yet, but it could be the case that it'll only have a small effect because of the strength of those issues for the Republicans. And the big question is, if it had, to the extent that it has a small effect, will it be in those key 7 states?
Indeed. And then let me then ask you this, that, if you are, let's say, advising the Democrat campaign right now, what would be your 1 or 2 top advices? Because, the candidate seems to be the candidate that is Kamala Harris has fared very well. She's done well, but she seems to be not getting the message across on 2 key issues of the election.
Well, I think on the immigration issue, she has to hammer home the fact that it was Donald Trump that blocked a major piece of legislation that could have been enacted to deal more effectively with the immigration issue. The other thing she can emphasize is that the border problem now has been going down. That is, the number of border crossing has been decreasing. With regard to the economy, I think she just needs to emphasize what her economic program is going forward in terms of helping businesses, helping working families, and also dealing with housing, which is a major problem related to inflation, and she needs to show she has ideas that could deal with these problems going forward. That is, she's got to emphasize going forward and emphasize how she represents a big change from Biden and Trump.
And Professor Shapiro, if you were to say one piece of advice to the Trump campaign, what would that be in the wake of these numbers?
Oh, I would simply recommend that they continue to emphasize those issues. And the big question is that whether there'll be a second debate. And the second debate is an opportunity for Trump to do what he should have done during the first debate and simply focus on those issues and not go off the rails talking about crowd sizes and eating animals and those particular kinds of things. And, Kamala Harris cannot rest on the laurels of her doing well in that first debate. I think a second debate would be important for her to enable her to enable voters to get her know better and to show the striking contrast between her and Trump, and to emphasize how she can deal with those particular issues going forward. And I think that's pretty important. The other importance of a second debate is that this isn't just a presidential election. This is a congressional election for the House of Representatives and the Senate, and there are also state ballot initiatives on abortion and other issues. And these are things the Democrats need to do well on, and the Republicans need to be mindful of this as well. But the Republicans control the House of Representatives, and looks like they're poised to win the Senate.
Yes.
And I think the second debate would be important in mobilizing Democrats for other things as well.
Right. In fact, Professor Shapiro, stay with us. I want to play out this report that tells where exactly do both the candidates stand as far as a second debate, if at all it could actually happen, because there is now no consensus on that. Take a look at this report. We come back and talk more.
The first presidential debate between Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald J. Trump drew 61.7 million live viewers, according to Nielsen, exceeding the Trump-Biden debate in June by 31%. Many reviews of the debate indicate that Trump struggled against Harris, failing to make an impact on the viewers. According to reports, the Harris campaign is now gunning for a second debate. The Harris team believes a second debate could give the vice president a chance to reach voters who are unlikely to attend her rallies.
And we're going to make
Reports suggest the Republicans were thinking about what to do, as some of them think the debate did not go well for their leader. Trump, on the other hand, has repeatedly claimed he won the debate.
when a fighter has a bad fight, gets knocked out or loses the fight, the first thing he says is, we want a rematch. So we won the debate according to every poll, every single poll. I think that, are we going to do a rematch? I just don't know. But we'll think about it.
According to reports, the Trump house is divided, with some wanting a rematch, but others saying they hoped he would not agree to a second debate unless it was hosted by Fox News, something he himself alluded to.
I would do NBC. I'd do Fox too. I'd do Fox too. But right now we have to determine whether or not we even want to do it. We had a great night last night, and you see by the poll numbers, it was really fantastic.
While it is difficult for Trump's allies to find a silver lining in the aftermath of the debate, the race is far from over. The evidence is mixed for how much the debate could actually shift votes. However, the current scenario mostly appears to favor Harris. With Vishal Vivek, Bureau Report, NDTV.
All right, will there be a second debate? Does Trump campaign want a second debate? Should Kamala Harris insist on a second debate to build on this momentum, or could it backfire, given that economy and immigration are still areas where her campaign and her messaging seems to have come off quite weak? Let's get that and open this up to the panelists. Joining me on the broadcast is Alex Sedan, who is a GOP strategist. We also have Harini Krishnan, who represents, I think, South Asians for Kamala Harris. And of course, Professor Shapiro stays with us. Thank you so much to all of you for joining me on this broadcast. Let me start with you, Alex. The question is that the Trump campaign or the Republican House is divided. Why is that so? On a second debate.
Well, look, the division doesn't exist in my head. Bring it on. Let's have as many debates as possible. This has nothing to do with performance. It has to do with the fact that more debates are good for the American people. They allow the American people to watch and see their potential presidential candidates, their next president likely, square off in that format. I would love to see former President Trump and Vice President Harris face off in a town hall setting to hear questions from average voters. This did happen in 2016 between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. It would be a very valuable way to see these candidates interact. I'll also point out that your numbers showed that 67 million people watched the debate. In 2020, 81 million people voted for President Trump. That is not even close to the amount that watched the debate. It blows it away. So not all of America was watching. More attempts for more Americans to see their presidential candidates in action are a good thing.
Harini Krishnan, respond to some critics who said that Kamala Harris definitely had her moments. She came out strong, prepared, and ready for the Trump assault, as some would say. But there's a lot more between now and the actual election. And the fact that Taylor Swift actually endorsed on a day when Kamala Harris was anyways on a high proves that maybe it is not gone as clearly in Harris's way as some would believe.
No, I think the contrary. I think, come on, I mean, I think anybody who was watching the debate clearly saw what I saw, which is, Kamala Devi Harris came prepared. She talked about the American people. She's only had one client her entire life. She talked about the American people. She talked about her economic agenda. I find it strange that, people are saying she didn't talk about. She talked about her economic plan. She talked about the $50,000 that she wants to give to small business startup owners. She talked about family tax.
I'll give you time to respond.
She talked about family tax credit, and let me finish. She talked about family tax credit, and she absolutely talked about an economic plan, and she talked about those issues. Whereas Donald Trump only talked about himself. He talked about crowd size. He talked about people eating animals and pets. We saw exactly who Donald Trump is.
I think the world watched that debate. We've all seen it, and we've got 36 hours in which we've digested all of it. The reason why I was asking you specifically is that some of the numbers seem to suggest that, as I said, Kamala Harris had her moments. She managed to put Donald Trump on the mat, and the world saw it. But when it came specifically on issues related to the economy and immigration, she was not able to deliver the message home. That's what some of the polls seem to suggest. So in the wake of that, would Kamala Harris want another rematch?
I think she's absolutely ready for a rematch because she would do exactly what she did in this first debate, which is talk about the policies. She would talk about the American people, and she would show exactly the contrast, right? You have somebody who is spewing racist vitriol, even in a nationally televised debate, somebody who is talking about random incoherent things versus somebody who is talking about policies. And let's talk about immigration. She addressed the fact that it was Trump who told many congressional leaders not to bring up the border security bill. She was ready to sign it. And it was, the President Biden was ready to sign it. That the fact that it was Trump who stopped the bipartisan border security bill. And when it comes to economy, yesterday, economists came out saying that the inflation is now back in February 2021, what it was in February 2021. And we are dealing with a far better economy, especially after impacting some of the most transformative legislation, investment in clean energy with the Infrastructure Reduction Act. So we are absolutely doing better. I think a second debate to emphasize the clear contrast, fact that immigration is something that she can absolutely handle.
Let's get in the other voices. Yes. Alex Sedan, respond to that, and then I get in Professor Shapiro as well. Alex, the fact is that Trump may have hammered home points related to immigration and economy, but overall he came as off. His performance was very different from what it was in the debate against President Biden. So why would he want another rematch if it could go down the same path?
Well, let's be clear about one thing. Vice President Harris is not Ronald Reagan. She's not Abraham Lincoln. She is not a solid debater. We saw her, especially at the beginning of the debate. She was unsure. She was overprepared. She was a little shaky. I think that President Trump could exploit those weaknesses. Don't forget, Vice President Harris has hours and hours of video to watch of President Trump debating everyone from Hillary Clinton to Marco Rubio. The Trump team did not have as much to look at in regards to Vice President Harris. Now, because the two of them have met on the stage, there is a rapport between the two of them. They do know how the other performs in a debate situation. I think that a second debate would be very informative. I think the Trump team didn't learn the lesson of the debate with Joe Biden, which is calm, cool, and steady, wins the race and changes minds. But I will point out that President Trump's best parts of the debate were the first 30 minutes and the end. And those are the parts that most people watch. Most people tune in for a portion of it and then maybe tune out and they tune back in at the end.
Okay.
I think those parts were President Trump's strongest performance.
Professor Shapiro, comment there that if you think it happens at a network that Donald Trump is open to, like a Fox, do you think a second debate is pretty much on the cards, or do you think it would be something that is dicey as things stand right now?
I think it should be. I think any reluctance on the part of Trump and his team is probably misplaced. I mean, Trump, I think, has a pretty simple job, and while his team may have learned lessons from the Biden debate and from the last debate, Trump himself has to learn the lesson. And the lesson is he needs to come across as a very calm and leader-like figure, and to emphasize those issues of the economy and inflation and the southern border in a way that he got derailed from in the last debate. Kamala Harris has a big incentive to have another debate. Whatever edge she gained from the last debate, she needs to solidify it in a big way. She needs to help mobilize her party for the congressional elections, and also keep in mind that we're relying on polls which in 2016 and 2020 underestimated Trump's performance. And with that in mind, that makes it even more important for Harris to try to get as big a lead as possible going into Election Day. And the only way for her to do that is to debate again and to try to do as well, if not better, than she did in the last debate.
Ms. Krishnan, if it's a Fox network debate, would Kamala Harris agree to it?
I don't know. I will say that she is ready for a debate. She's ready for a second debate. But we also know that, Fox News is one that has continuously validated the lies that have been spewed by, the former president. So I'm not sure, but I will say one point I do want to hammer is on immigration. We saw the former president use fear-mongering, talk about, oh, they're coming for you, the migrants are coming for you, and talk about concepts of a plan. So to those who are saying that, Kamala Harris didn't talk about her policies, she talked about her policies a lot more than the fear-mongering that Donald Trump did. But okay. I do think it's to Kamala Harris's benefit to have a second debate, but not sure where that'll be.
Okay, so just... It's my job to also put out the other side. A lot of Trump campaign said that ABC moderators did not do a fair job and they were completely slanted towards one of the candidates. I'm responding to this in the context of Fox Network. But Alex Zidane, respond to the fact that what if it's not Fox? What if it's some other network? Would Donald Trump be prepared to do the debate then?
Let me point this out. CNN may be the most anti-Trump network that there is, but President Trump's first debate with President Biden was on CNN. You see that Donald Trump is more than prepared to go into what might be viewed as hostile territory and make his point. I truly hope the vice president is willing to do the same. I'll also say that Fox's anchors, including Bret Baier and Martha McCallum, are accomplished journalists who are known for their fairness and impartiality. Again, okay. It is vital that we get another debate.
All right. I am afraid I have to leave it there. But Professor Shapiro, 30 seconds, sir. Do you see this going Fox, NBC, or do you think it could happen in any other network?
Well, I think Kamala Harris would probably prefer NBC to Fox. But if it comes down to Fox or no debate, I think her people will decide to, as we say, bring it on.
All right. On that note, appreciate all of you for joining me on this edition of US Election Watch. And now let's also take a look at this report that's been filed about, Taylor Swift, one of the most popular women on earth. She's endorsed Kamala Harris. Take a look at this report that tells you the story in detail.
In a political landscape where every endorsement counts, one pop superstar's support has made waves. Taylor Swift, the global music icon, has thrown her weight behind Vice President Kamala Harris, and the impact has been noteworthy. The pop star's post endorsing Harris for the White House on Tuesday drove over 337,000 users to visit the site vote.gov, giving a glimpse of what her support could do for the Democratic presidential candidate. Celebrities were all praised for Taylor Swift's endorsement.
I really commend women and artists like T. Swift who, stand on business, who do their research, and who say something, not just to say something,
I don't think she set out to set that standard or not. I think she did what she felt she wanted to do in setting a record straight. Those are her words. Given the AI that's been out and about, I think more celebrities you'll find them setting their records straight because of AI. So that was more noteworthy than the political nature of what she had to say. But no, listen, it's it's politics, it's entertainment. When people get a platform and they're passionate, they're going to use it.
This is not the first time Taylor Swift has urged fans to vote. Just last year, more than 35,000 people signed up to vote on her request. As the election approaches, the power of celebrity endorsements like Taylor Swift's could be a game changer. For Kamala Harris, it's a boost that could make all the difference. Bureau Report, NDTV World.
Absolutely. And on that note, a quick update as far as some of the other stories coming in. First up, the U.S. Congress is set to get increased Fed security on the 6th of January. Remember, this comes after the 6th of January Capitol attack that took place 4 years back when the power transition was taking place in America. And in the wake of that, FBI will also be involved in monitoring any threats whatsoever. Well, the so-called epitome of democracy would want the power transition to be as smooth as possible, which is why additional security is set to be deployed. All right, another quick update coming in from Ohio, where the father of the dead 11-year-old boy has said that his son and his death is in fact being exploited in anti-migrant politics. The father has asked Donald Trump and the Republican campaign to stop using his son for any political gains. Remember, immigration is at the heart of U.S. elections and at the heart of Donald Trump's campaign. And Ohio's dad has also asked and said that he has sought an apology for spinning his son's death towards hate. And he has said that I wish my son was killed by a 60-year-old white man. That's on your screens. That tells you exactly how much immigration is tearing the American society into practically two different halves.
I wish that my son, Aiden Clark, was killed by a 60-year-old white man. I bet you never thought anyone would ever say something so blunt. But if that guy killed my 11-year-old son, the incessant group of hate-spewing people would leave us alone. This needs to stop now. They can vomit all the hate they want about illegal immigrants, the border crisis, and even untrue claims about fluffy pets being ravaged and eaten by community members. However, they are not allowed, nor have they ever been allowed to mention Aiden Clark from Springfield, Ohio.
I think that was a very tragic incident. And on that note, it's a wrap on this edition of US Election Watch. Thanks so much for watching.
a huge vacuum, but we have to take the movement forward. There are comrades like Prakash Karat, Bunda Karat, and many comrades.